Making a quick vid today, guys, to show you how easy it is to set your own valve clearances. Save you a bit of money, and you know they're done right. So I'm not going to show you all the procedure. I'm just going to show you what's involved. I'll do it on one set of valves. First, basically, tanks off. Take your rocker cover off. I prefer to take my signal cover off and turn the cams that way. If you're on your centre stand, you could just put it in gear, turn your wheel, and that'll turn the engine, turn the cams over. It's imperative that you make sure you turn it the right way, which is clockwise. You don't want to turn it backwards. Right. The book says basically there's two marks on the cams. You'll line the marks up, both pointing out, and that'll enable certain exhaust and certain intake cams to be open, and that's when you're checking the clearance. When the cams are, when the lobe is completely off the rocker, then you'll check the clearances underneath and set them if need be. So the two positions out will probably set 1, 2, 3 exhausts and 3 intakes, and then you go clockwise on the signal generator cover, and the two marks, I mean, you can just see one mark there, instead of being there, they'll be there, and that one, instead of being there, will be there, and then that's telling you then the valves that you haven't done on the inlet and the exhaust will be in roughly the right position. I don't do it that way. I prefer to set my feelers at one size, and I'll do all the exhausts first, and then I'll do all the inlets. And I'll just show you an example if I was doing this one nearest to me now. I would put me spanner, start turning clockwise, and as you can see, as I'm turning, if you watch that cam, you can see that cam going round, that cam lobe, and as the eye point on the lobe comes in contact with the rocker, I'm still turning clockwise. Now you can see the lobe pushing the rocker down, which in turn is pushing the two valves down. At the top of the lobe is now on the top of the rocker, and you can see the two valves are pushed down. Them two valves are now open. That'll let the exhaust gases out. The position we want it in to check the clearances, keep turning clockwise. You can see the valves closing now as the lobe comes up, and there's the lobe. And I'll just stop and make a point here about lobes. You get wear on the lobes. It's inevitable as the engine goes on. But some people, I've read on the net, once you start getting score marks, they'll replace the cams. Well, to me, that just seems a bit unnecessary. If they're deep and it's really pitted, fair enough. But I mean, a few little wear marks on the top, my opinion, ain't going to make much difference. It ain't going to damage the rocker. So if you've got a few little scores on the top, I wouldn't worry too much. I've got a few scores. This motor's done 40,000 miles I think now. Don't make no difference. Anyway, I'll keep turning on this signal cover, and you can see as it's coming round, and the position you want to cam in is roughly about there. The cam lobe is completely off the rocker, so that means the valves are completely closed, and that will now enable us to check the clearances. As you can see, the clearance is there. You can see the rocker moving. Where you have to check, I can just focus in. Don't be tempted to check there with the feelers underneath. That is the wrong place. You have to check there. That is the gap that we'll be setting on each valve. Now these gaps can close up as the engine wears off, and if you don't reset them, you could come to a position where there's almost no gap at all. You won't really know about it because it will be silent, but you've got the chance you'll burn the valve seats out, the valves on the valve seats. If the gap is too big, it's not so bad. All you'll do is have a rattle. I mean, Bandit engines do rattle a bit anyway, but you'll hear it if they're too bad, if they're too open. So, to check the clearances, you take your appropriate feeler gauge and you'll get the size out the manual. Just focus in again. Now I've already set these, and to set them, just check, and they've got to be just a nice sliding fit. It's just gripping the feeler. That's 8/1000th of an inch, and that's just nice. So what I do is just check if I can find it on my feelers, because it's gone in. I'm holding the camera in the feelers. But what I'll do, I'll go to the top limit. I can't get the feeler out at the moment with the camera now. I'll go to the top limit and try again, and I kind of set. If the top limit just really doesn't go in, that's fair enough. I set it at the mean 8/1000. As you can see, it's a nice sliding fit. If you need to adjust them, if they're too large or too small, you've got this lock nut. Put your ring spanner on. Easy to do. I find it easier, just a nice ring spanner. On the lock nut, anti-clockwise, undo it. And I do this by my fingers as well. You've got a little square on the top. I'll try and focus in on that. A little square on top of the lock nut. Either turn it anti-clockwise to give a bit more gap, or slightly clockwise to reduce that gap. Tighten it up again, check with the feeler again. If it's wrong, just loosen the lock nut, and it's a fraction of a movement, and it does make a big difference. It's just a fraction of a movement one way or the other till you've got it set. Lock up. Once it's locked up, check with your feeler again. Just a nice sliding fit. Just a nice sliding fit there, and that's done. And you do it on, obviously, both valves. I do all the exhausts first, turn over to the appropriate position, and it's the same for the inlets. As you can see again, same mechanisms for adjustment. Make sure you get the appropriate size. The inlet size will be a smaller size feeler than the exhaust size. I think it's 6/1000 for the inlet. Or you just get the appropriate metric size if you've got metric feelers. Get them out your manual. Once they're all set, all locked up, if you want to just turn it over again, check them again, and that's job done. Rocker back on. Well, new gasket, rocker, tank. Me, I've got to put a new gasket on. I think I've said this before. I've bit stupid really, but I use the same gasket about 4 times now, and they start to leak here. Start to whip oil down here, and you soon tell you'll see oil around here. Another point it might be worth mentioning for you when you're putting the rocker cover back on again, especially on the 1200, there isn't much room here. Over each spark plug hole, you can see my plugs are still in, there's a gasket on each one. Here it is, and this is a pretty good tip really. There's a gasket goes on each one. When you're putting the cover on, be very careful, because it is so easy to just dislodge the gasket. You don't really realise you've slightly dislodged it until you've got your cover on. You lock everything up, you think, right, I'll sit back, start the engine and admire my handiwork. And what happens is oil pisses out and you think, Jesus Christ, I've knackered my engine. All it is you've slightly dislodged one of these gaskets, and obviously there's one on each plug hole. I've done that twice now. I was trying to be careful the second time, but because there's not much gap here, it's so easy for it to just move. But don't worry if you get oil then pissing out. Cover's got to come off again. Pain in the arse job, but make sure they're seated right. And that's it really. I'm just going to get on. I've done all my exhausts. I'm just going to do all my intake valves, and that's another job done for the biking season. So hope that's been a bit of help, gives you an insight into what's involved with valve clearances. I mean, a lot of people think, oh God, valve clearances, I can't do them. Simple job really. Take it to a garage if you like, and they'll charge you 100 quid plus, or do myself. Okay, hope that's been a bit of help. Catch you all again later.